have a very clean relation between the pole vector and the attribute that controls the hawk, right? Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Ilse Zamarripa and this is the Worldspace. Today I have quite a special video for you. You must know that I'm very invested in creature animation. It's something I've worked on for some years now. I really enjoy the way animals behave. It takes a lot of time and effort to make an animal feel real. Selling the weight and the actions and the overall movement can be very challenging. Today I want to show you how in Creature Animation Workshop it's done. What I'm gonna be doing with you is unwinding a shot from a very talented student in the workshop and reveal to you some of the techniques behind the process. Creature Animation Workshop is an online school that has some outstanding shots. Don't hesitate to check out the website. I will leave you a link in the description down below. So let's get started. This is a shot from Pawan Naidu. He is a very talented student and did a great job. Here we can see the reference he used. The original reference ended here, but it didn't represent a huge challenge. So he decided to stitch more references together, almost seamlessly, so he could have a more challenging and longer shot for his demo reel. Now let's analyze this reference a bit. One thing that he had to keep in mind is that the weight of a leopard is not the same weight as a snow leopard. We're talking about approximately 32 kilograms versus like 80 kilograms. So 170 pounds versus like 60 pounds. So it does make a huge difference. Once you have your rig, obviously you have to animate taking into account the weight the creature in your rig has. So let's analyze this reference a little. In frame 1, we can see that he's already unbalanced. His weight is going forward, so he needs to counter it by extending his hind and placing it that way. He continues, but this space is obviously very narrow. In order to balance all this weight, he then, if he wants to come down, he obviously has to adapt his body to be in a more vertical position. So that's what he does right there. The weight is now on this front leg as his left hind does this and his claws grab to the trunk of the tree. And then he does something beautiful. He grabs with his tail this tree trunk, so he has a little bit more balance and stability when he's going down. One thing I love about leopards is that you can actually see the pattern as it stretches and squashes, and you can really see what's driving the movement. So here he's going down. Look at this very dynamic stretch pose. And as he goes down, look at this very flexible spine. And look at how the hips create this little bouncing ball. You see? Special effects and everything. Then he obviously reaches forward. All the weight is now on this front paw. In his hind rear legs, he changes from one to the other. And then look at this beautiful thing. This is very challenging in feline animation because feline bodies are super flexible. So look at this spine and look at this crazy leg angle. This is insane. And you need a very good rig in order to animate this because it can be a real pain. So obviously the legs are going to be in IK. That's the usual thing for felines. And you would have one pull vector here or another pull vector here. It can vary from rig to rig. Usually the pull vector comes from here. This is called the knee or the stifle, whereas this is the hook. So when you're animating, you want to take into account the position they're in and the angle they form according to the body, obviously. Have a very clean relation between the pull vector and the attribute that controls the hawk, right? Here, the animator experienced a different challenge because you can see clearly the change in environment. So in his case, he decided to have a tree that adapted to these shapes. So as he comes down, he's reaching with his front right leg there. And so is this reference. And one very nice thing is that look at the difference of height between his hips and his scapula and his shoulder. A very important difference. And one thing that makes these two references match so well is precisely that, the difference of height. And look at how the front pastern adapts to the terrain. And look at this hind quarter stretching and this one catching up and automatically bending down, adapting to the terrain. Look at that. Whoop, whoop. Now all the weight is here, but it's pretty unstable. It's also going forward. That's why he does this little adjustment with the hips to counter that and to calculate how much he's gonna jump. Look at that beautiful, dynamic, stretched out pose. So the tail is lagging behind as he's coming down, and the tail does this whip motion as it goes down. You have to take into account that the feline tail usually has 6 to 8 muscles on each side, so they can actually have a lot of control over it. It's always there for them to balance themselves. So here you can see that he doesn't whip all the way down. He controls it in there, so it's not some piece of fabric that is just loose. He actually controls it. And this is a very nice way to end a reference, because look at that, he's posing and everything. Look at this ending. This hip is like a bouncing ball. So it's up, down, it comes down, it pushes everything. All this is completely squashed. Then it goes up and then it settles. And you can see how the pattern moves here because he's breathing. So that's a very nice detail. So to actually have 3 references that work well together is very complicated, and it takes a lot of research to find something that's attractive and nice. So let's take a look at the initial blocking pass. So here Po1 is finding the keys to the animation, and you can compare it with the analysis we did before, and you can see that it's going down. You can actually understand a lot of the weight. And here he's exploring what's gonna happen with his front paws as the reference changes. But overall it's very nice. He has this leap and that fall and the settle. This is a very important moment in the animation. You cannot skip this or do this lightly. It has to be very precise and very meticulous to have a very nice animation in the end. What I really recommend is going in perspective view and making sure every single pose actually works and it's not like animated just to one camera, because you're gonna have a lot of problems afterwards and the weight's not gonna look very real. Now let's take a look at the second blocking pass in the shock progression. Here the student was asked to have the tree trunk in transparent so he could really see what the legs are doing, and look at that, he already has this beautiful things going on with the tail. Still not polished, but it's there. There are still details that need polish, like the way this pops right here and the changes from one frame to the other. This pole vector is kind of like here and then it's kind of here, so it's still going a little crazy, but he's just adding all the breakdowns and the in-betweens. And here you can see something that's very common. It's that the camera anticipates the movement. So the camera is predicting what's gonna happen, and that is a very important thing to avoid. You always want the camera to go following the object, not leading the object. So sometimes you even have to take the main object out of frame so you can frame it afterwards and it looks more natural. And you see he tailors that in the final piece. That's very, very sweet. You have this framing. So now let's take a look at the spline path, which is like the second blocking pass but a little bit more polished. And look at this very cute, beautiful detail. He added flies to the shot, and look how nice. It really gives a feel that you're watching something in nature, and that's very smart. You always have to take into account how the creature is being affected and affects the environment. Also, you want, if he's coming down, you obviously want a little bit of the pieces of the tree coming down, a little bit of maybe the leaves that fall, the branches that go up and down, and you really want him to be a part of that environment. That's very important in animation. He has the thing that I was telling you about, this angle there. It's very complicated. You can see how it's like kind of penetrating here. So then your job as an animator, or maybe within the pipeline, it would be the job of a technical animator, is for this not to collide. But when you're doing your personal shots and you don't have a technical animator, or you want to be your own technical animator, you have to make sure you correct those kind of things. You can see that we no longer have this weird penetration going on. So he's fixing all these minor details, but very important ones. And here the tail needs a little bit more refinement, but it's looking pretty nice. It's looking balanced. There it's a little funky, and you can see that in the final animation he actually polished that. Look in the final animation how the tail is working. It's very nice. I love the tail when he goes down. This is a very nice motion. So a bad thing about this framing is that you're actually cropping a part of the character, and you don't want that in this very important moment when he's coming down. So here he descended the camera a little bit and made it fall harder with the animal, which actually adds also more weight to the animation. The camera makes it look nicer. Now this coming down of the hips is pretty well achieved because you actually feel a lot of weight. From here you can actually notice how the hind legs feel, boom, powerful. And it's beautiful that he added all these details of the environment and how he interacts with it. So nice. Those are the things that really make your animation stand out. So here's the final shot. There's one thing that I want to point out, and it's that this is a very nice looking render. Let's discuss the final look first. We have a skylight and a sunlight, and you can see that because of this bluish tint, and this is very nice. I think it's a nice way to present your animation. You don't have to go for fur and having all these colors. The only important thing is that it looks nice. You can see that it also has motion blur enabled. And just take a look at the animation. It's looking very nice. And look at the way it interacts with the environment. That's one of my favorite things. So we have all these flies going around, and when he does this part of the tree trunk fall, that is so cute about the polished version of the shot. Look. All the tree pieces are falling down. It makes it look really natural, like he's actually there. I love the way he adapted this tree to match the reference. Very nice job. And this final detail, when he steps into the branch and it moves one time, but then it moves again, you see? It settles and then it moves again. That's very natural, very nice. And now you can see how this branch is also being affected by the weight of the creature. You want to add these little steps so you can manage the position of the legs and how it starts colliding with this. You can also throw that in a layer and keep adjusting it forward. And please take a look at this overlapping vibration there. That is very nice. Take a close look at all the micro movements you can see here. Check it out. There, you saw? Going backward and forward, and then this is moving also forward and backward, but with different timing. Very nice, very nice. And you can also see the little adaptation of the weight. Very natural neck as well. I really like the way it kind of snaps a little there. It looks very natural. And he actually even looks kind of like annoyed by the flies. I don't know if that's the intention, but proper squash and bounce of the hips. And you can see when he plants these hind legs, there is a little like vibration, like a movement all across the body. Take a look at it. You see the way everything seems to resonate accordingly. Everything's connected. And look at this very nice detail of the paw just being lazy and dragging, going up and then going down. And this branch pivot is here, so we can move when he steps on it, but it also has some deformers to it, so this can bend, and this beautiful movement. Not all rigs have this. Sometimes you have to fake it yourself with blend shapes or with transformations of the geometry, or playing around with, I don't know, the rib cage controls or things like that. But this rig is very powerful and very nice. And take a closer look at the shape of the mouth. It opens, it closes, and then it opens back a little. All these little subtleties. Look at the ears are never fully static. They're always moving. The ears are a very delicate thing in creature animation. You always want to have them moving, but you don't want them to be distracting, and you don't want to move them just all over the place, the ears of the felines usually turn towards where they're gonna turn their head next. So this is the way Creature Animation Workshop approaches a shot progression. It's a process that's very long, it's very delicate. It actually takes a lot of time to have a shot looking this polished. It can take some weeks or even some months. So I hope you like this, and don't hesitate to enroll in the Creature Animation Workshop. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up so I can know and I can continue making videos like this one. Please share it around, and I would appreciate it so much if you subscribed, like our more than 2,000 amazing subscribers. That is bananas, guys. Thank you so much for your support. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. You know, I answer all of them. And keep making art, you beautiful artist. Ciao.